Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this 18-minute webinar from Wellington. My name's Vince Hines. I'm the Managing Director of Wellington, and with a particular interest in project sponsorship. Let's get to it, shall we? Just very briefly, for those of you who are new to who we are, this is not my back bedroom. I'm in our office in Windsor. We are an APM accredited training provider. We're a Microsoft Gold partner. We're the only organisation that has both those badges. We're interested here in training sponsors, developing sponsors, and the APM has some very good guidance around that. I'll list that at the end of this webinar as well. One of the things that we've done is obviously we deliver APM qualifications, but also we've authored a lot of other training around project management. And then have that subsequently accredited by the APM as a professional course that does include training in project sponsorship. So it's really highlights of that I want to focus on. Let's first of all look at the reality of the situation. Hopefully this does not resonate with you, but we do a large piece of research each year called the State of Project Management. And from that research, one of the questions we ask hundreds of practitioners is, what are the challenges that you face? And you can see on this slide, number one and number two are always tend to be the same. We do too many projects and our project managers need to be trained. And for us, a lot of our clients, of course, their focus is let's train the people running the projects, the project managers. Obviously, that makes good sense. Often then, people forget or don't consider, we also need to train our sponsors. We need our sponsors to understand their role. And we can see here that sponsors actually rank quite highly as a challenge, in the nicest possible way, of course, as a challenge as well. So when we're looking to improve project management maturity, yes, there's always a focus on let's equip our project managers with the skills, but also what about the sponsors as well? Again, hopefully this doesn't resonate with you, but often some of the common characteristics possibly that people find with their sponsors is either they're too close, they're trying to do the project manager's job, kind of getting in the way, or they kind of say, yeah, go off and do it, and I'll see you at the end of the project, and they kind of disappear and they're not there actively working alongside the project manager and the project team. I think the worst characteristic is when they themselves are the ones changing their mind all the time, and very much treating the project manager like Father Christmas. No, I want this, I want this, I want something else, I'll change my mind again, which can be incredibly frustrating. And of course, the sponsor should be demonstrating good behaviours, good project management, good change management as well. So during this session, we're going to look at some of the things a project sponsor should be doing, and we're going to end really with a couple of key slides about those, the role of a project sponsor, both in terms of looking up and representing kind of the organisation, and then looking down into the project and supporting the project manager and the project team. So as I said, hopefully this doesn't resonate with you, but it's pretty common stuff. It's pretty common stuff. Project sponsors often attack this role more as a line manager, someone who's reporting to me is doing a project. I'm going to maintain and keep wearing my line manager hat rather than recognizing actually it's a different role, and we need to exhibit slightly different behaviors. So you don't just need to take it from me. Other people think the same thing, very legitimate people. So the NEO, even some years ago, I'm not going to read these slides out, but certainly highlighting the importance of having an effective project sponsor. So a good quote to share with those within your organisation. Because of course what any of us want to do is to improve project management maturity, and as part of that, and you may be familiar with this standard 5-level maturity chart, as part of that we want to establish good governance for our projects, good governance, ensuring the right decisions are made in the organisation. So a question, and really what I want to do from this short session is to give you some food for thought. One question is, in your organisation, is it clear, do people understand what their role is as a sponsor, and are they providing that governance as part of developing our maturity? I've used the word governance, so what on earth am I talking about? So it's about ensuring that project decisions are made by the right people at the right time. If I was going to summarise governance, we've got a definition here from the APM body of knowledge, of course. So we want to ensure that projects are formally approved through their stage gates, from initial idea through to detailed planning, through to approval, delivery, and finally close. Typically, we're looking for a number of stage gates that we're allowed to go through into the next stage. And I always sort of build on that analogy and talk about the fact that the sponsor, or even the project board, other governance entities, hold the keys to those gates. And the project manager and the project team should be presenting their argument to be given the key so they can unlock the gate, go into the next stage. But that provides good discipline, good governance, ensuring that projects are in the right place and have been planned correctly, managed correctly, to allow to go into that, through the gate into that next stage. So typically, as an example, one of the things we'd be looking for is to not just ensure we've got good governance around the gates, but for the sponsor to also ensure that if there are any change requests to the project that go outside the tolerance of the project manager and the project team, they need to be escalated to the sponsor. Maybe the sponsor can approve them. Maybe they go beyond the sponsor's signing approval, beyond their tolerance, and maybe need to go to even a higher authority. But having that clear understanding of what the tolerance levels are, and when I say tolerance, I'm talking about how much can I change the deadline, the budget, the benefits, the scope, and we might give the project manager some wriggle room with some of these. So how much tolerance have they got with those constraints? And of course, the project sponsor will have more. Quite often, or appropriately, the sponsor, as an example, would hold contingency for the project. We've given you the funding, the sponsor effectively is going to hold 10% contingency. If you want some of that, you've got to legitimise that through a change request for the sponsor to approve, assuming that it's within their, again, their governance, their signing authority, their tolerance as well. So if we get into so we've got to know what the governance is, and we want to have good governance on a project, on every project. We need to be clear about who's the project manager, clear about who's on the project team, and clear about who is the project sponsor. Show me a project with more than one person who thinks they're the project sponsor, and I'm going to show you a really confused project manager, because I've got different people asking me potentially for different things, putting the project manager in a very awkward position. So we want to be clear about who is the sponsor. Of course, we could have other key stakeholders at that kind of level. Of course, we could have a project board, a project steering committee, that kind of entity there as well, if the project is sufficiently significant for the organisation. We want to ramp up our governance, but as a minimum, we want a project sponsor. And the key phrase here is the project sponsor is accountable for delivering the business case. They own the business case. They're the one who wants the benefit. They're the one who wants the jam that we're going to get from this project. What we're looking for is the project manager and the project team to deliver that benefit on a day-to-day basis. So the project manager and the project team are looking after the project on a day-to-day basis, but we've got that oversight from the sponsor, working closely with the project manager and the project team. And of course, we're going to explore the role of the project sponsor a little bit more. I'm keeping my eye on the time, halfway through, and the role of the project sponsor then. We've got, again, a definition here from the APM. We need to make sure we deliver on those objectives, that we get the benefits that we are looking for. So that's that phrase I always use, the sponsor owns the business case. That might be an actual document, but it also could just be the principles behind this particular project. So we need to make sure there is a close cooperation with the project manager and the project sponsor. And if we look into this in a little bit more detail, again, we can see that their role is often misunderstood, and they can make a huge difference to the project. Fundamentally, they own the business case, and they should be championing the project, representing the project to the wider organisation. Be an advocate, as I've highlighted in this particular quote. So again, well, let's look into the detail of this. This is not a full list, but some of the key things we're looking for is the project owner, project sponsor owns the business case. They want the benefit. They're going to help and support the project manager. They might even identify who the project manager is going to be, but they're going to represent the project to senior management as well. We're not going to leave it to the project manager. They're the points of escalation. So if the project manager and the project team have a risk or an issue that they can't deal with, then escalation point is to the sponsor. This is where the sponsor should be able to step in. At that person's more senior level, they should be able to unblock some of those challenges. They're also the escalation point for any changes, as I've mentioned already, ensuring that the project has got the resource that it needs there to support the project manager. And we've taken this role now and then broken it down into phase. So classic life cycle phases: initiation, having the idea; planning; implementation, much longer piece; and then closeout as well. And we're looking at here and saying, well, what sort of things would we expect the sponsor to be doing? It's an active senior leadership role throughout the life cycle. It's not just, I'll approve it at the beginning, I'll see you at the end. We're there to approve projects through the life cycle, through the stage gates, as I've mentioned as well. Again, I'm not going to read these items out from here. Hopefully they make good sense, but they certainly have a very important active role to play. Fundamentally, we want to ensure we get the benefit. Benefits realization and benefits tracking is actually one of the challenges for a lot of organizations. And so we're looking for the project manager and the project team to be monitoring benefit as the project's going on. We want to be ensuring that are we still on track to deliver the benefit? We want the project sponsor to be focused on, I'm going to get that benefit. Am I still going to get that benefit? Am I confident in getting that benefit? And then also monitoring benefit post-project. Who's going to do that? Well, it's not the project manager and the project team. They've finished. Ideally, it's the sponsor. Typically, or often, it's the project management office doing it on behalf of the sponsor and the organisation. And that is a practical solution to that particular situation. So we want to ensure that we get those benefits at the end. So what are we talked right at the beginning about not desirable characteristics. What are the desirable characteristics? Well, competence. We need to have credibility, a commitment, and of course be engaged with the project and the project team. It's a really good idea to have a terms of reference for a role description that you can give to sponsors in your organisation to say, this is the characteristics, this is what you should be doing through the life cycle, this is how you should be supporting the project manager and the project team. And the other thing I'm always very keen to communicate to sponsors is also to say, and this is what you should expect from your project manager. You should expect to get a plan. You should expect to see a risk log. You should expect to be given changes to approve, reject as well. You need to be expecting, you should get a regular status report or a highlight report from your project manager. This is what you should be expecting. If the sponsor has low confidence in the project, we're halfway through, the project manager keeps telling me everything's green, not so sure, not so confident, what's our route there? In that situation, we should be then potentially invoking some project assurance. I want a third party, independent, maybe the PMO, maybe a peer of the project manager. I want someone to come in and effectively do some assurance on this project. And if I change the word assurance to the word audit, you know exactly what I mean. We want someone to come in and validate what we're being told. So as a project sponsor, if I feel like I'm not as confident about this, then maybe we can trigger assurance. Let's check what we're being told. Are those KPIs correct? Are we being told the true situation? So as I said at the beginning, there's a couple of slides here. There's quite a lot of content on this, but what does the sponsor do for the organisation? And then separately, what does the sponsor do for the project team? So looking up into the organisation, the sponsor needs to ensure that this project aligns with corporate strategy. Are we doing the right project? Does it make sense? Is the business case valid? Does it align with our strategy better than other projects, other potential ideas? As I've mentioned already, they're accountable for delivering on that benefit. They should also be able to reflect the corporate risk appetite. It might be we've got a contract project manager in to do this project. They can be less connected with our corporate risk appetite. They might be wanting to take more risk or even less risk. Whereas the sponsor needs to ensure that the project and the project team mirrors what the organisation is comfortable with in terms of taking on project risk. We recognise projects don't happen in isolation. There's other work going on, but the sponsor is more likely to have that helicopter view across the organisation and therefore can give a view on what's happening. Actually, you're doing this project, you're not aware, but there's a project over here. There's going to be a connection. I need you to talk to this person about interdependencies, as an example. So having that helicopter view is very important as well. So looking, representing the organisation there's a full list here of some functions that the sponsor should be undertaking, taking responsibility for. And then if I look into the project team, what is it that we should be doing for the project manager? Clarifying priorities, making sure that we're clear about the priorities on this project from tasks, but more benefits that we're looking to achieve. They're the point of escalation, as I mentioned, for risks issues. They need to be able to make timely decisions. Let's not slow the project down. I've seen lots of examples where project managers and project teams are very frustrated. I can't see the sponsor till the end of the month. We're sat here treading water while we wait for a decision. Providing authorization, approval to go through stage gates, approval on a change request potentially, and of course making sure that they're getting regular reports as well. Am I comfortable where the project is? Am I confident in what the project manager and the project team are telling me? And as I've mentioned already, championing the project to the wider organisation. We often look for project managers and project teams to do stakeholder engagement, stakeholder mapping. That's a great thing to do. The sponsor has an active role to play in that as well. There are some stakeholders where it is appropriate for the sponsor to be the person engaging with them. Communication from the sponsor. It's not just about the project manager and the project team. And his or her, their peer level, it is appropriate for the sponsor to be doing that communication as well. Okay, so that's the list. Hopefully then, a short, and I've got my 18 minutes, so a short run through, food for thought. What my hope is, this has given you food for thought in terms of the role. Okay, now I see what the real role of a project sponsor is. It's through the life cycle, both for the team and for the organisation. My question to you is, do your sponsors understand that role? Have they been trained in how to be a sponsor? What kind of communication can you now establish with them to give them insight into what their role should be? So I hope this has been very useful. There's some references that I've listed here. What I've talked through is APM best practice, and thanks very much for joining me. That is pretty much 18 minutes, maybe a little bit longer. Have a lovely rest of the day, and just to let you know, we will send this recording out afterwards as well. So if you want to reflect on it again further, you are very welcome to do that. Okay, thanks very much for your time, everyone. Cheers.